Thank you, Dr. Yasmin, and thank you all so much for being here. I'm really so excited to see you here and get to talk about my research. So thank you, RC, of course, for the opportunity to speak tonight, but also more generally for the chance to conduct my dissertation research this year. I also want to thank the Fulbright program, which has also sponsored some of the research that I'm presenting. And of course, I want to thank the fantastic musicians with me tonight, who, I'm not sure, I'll introduce them later. But you're in for a treat, so please stick around for that. Okay, let me see if I can. Is the sound okay like this? Okay. How's everyone doing? Good? Okay.
Tamam.
So I would like to start by sharing what some might call an ethnographic encounter and what others might call an embarrassing story. So to set the scene, I was at a recording studio in Zamalek with a very renowned musician in the traditional Arabic music scene, like really one of the top people. And during a break between the recording sessions, this musician, who also is a scholar and holds a PhD, asked me what I was working on. So I told him one of my dissertation in a nutshell phrases, like I'm working on the adoption of new musical instruments in the traditional text, starting with the violin family, leading up to the accordion. But before I could continue, he kind of gave this guffaw, and he said, how can you say that the accordion was ever part of the traditional text? There's nothing traditional about it. As soon as you add instruments like the accordion, you've left the realm of the traditional altogether and entered the realm of the popular. Then he turned to the rest of the ensemble and he said, did you hear that? Ya Jama'ah, she's researching the history of the accordion and the taht. And they all laughed. So it was embarrassing, yes, but why am I telling you this? Mainly because I want to immediately draw attention to the contested nature of the traditional in Arabic music, especially when it comes to musical instruments. So my talk today will be about instruments, as you probably surmised at this point, but I'm treating this topic as a case study in a broader cultural politics of 20th and 21st century Egypt. Before I get into these topics, I hope you'll let me indulge in a bit of personal backstory. So I grew up in a pretty small, isolated town in California, which is about halfway between two major cities, San Francisco and Portland. It's a 6-hour drive in either direction, so a lot of touring musical groups would come to our town in the middle of the week on a Wednesday or something and perform while they were en route to the next major city. So I grew up playing the cello, this instrument, I think it's very and when I was 15 years old, one of these touring bands that came through the area asked if I could substitute for their cello player. So the band was an Arabic music fusion ensemble led by the singer Natasha Atlas. And although I had zero experience with Arabic music, I had developed kind of like a cocky big fish in a small pond mentality. And so I immediately said, yeah, of course, yes, I can do it, with no idea what I was getting into. So then when I tried to practice with the recordings that were sent to me, I was immediately sober because there were notes I'd never heard in my life, let alone played. And I found out later these were called microtones, which I'll talk about a little bit. So I played terribly in the concert, needless to say, but this experience sparked a musical love and an intellectual pursuit to understand and be able to play Arabic music. This ultimately led to my studies in ethnomusicology at UC Santa Barbara with Dr. Scott Marcus, who's actually an RC alum. He was here exactly 25 years ago. My field, ethnomusicology, can be defined as the study of music in and as culture. So at UCSB, my coursework included classes in anthropology as well as music. I even had a class about Kulthum, entire class about her, which was wonderful.